MG Rob back with you. And now that the B has been painted, I'm getting back to finishing up this Metropolitan. And one of the things I got to do is rear wheel seals, or at least the right rear wheel seal. Now these are notorious for leaking on the face here, especially when your wheels are not bolted on, because it actually, even though there's a screw here holding it, the axle in place, all 4 lug nuts is what actually keeps it tight. So when the wheels are off, they tend to sometimes drip a little bit. That's really, really common. But in this case, the seal in the back here needs replaced, which means we got to take this nut off and use a gear puller and pull the whole hub off. Now, unlike the A and the early B, which is the same exact setup, just on a little larger scale, this isn't a special socket. Where the A and early B uses a 1 61/64 8-point socket, this is just an 1 7/8 6-point nut. So easy to find a nut for that at some place that carries bigger tools. So here's how I pull these things. Now it's a bit touchy to get these things sitting exactly where you need it so it doesn't want to slip off, because it's a 3-jaw gear puller on essentially a 4-sided piece. And these aren't always flat here, you know, you gotta get the right spot. But I've got this piece here which has a hole in the middle, so this stays right in the middle. Now this one's actually sized for the MGA and early B axles, because you'd like this to be, the outer diameter of this to be exactly the same as the inner diameter of the, well, just slightly smaller than the inner diameter of the bearing here. I don't actually have one that's exactly that size, so once I get it flush here, I'll be improvising with a socket or something to make it work. So here it is, improvised with a little socket that'll slide in there. That socket's about 1 5/16 inches outside diameter, so it'll work just fine. All right, so the seal is actually behind the bearing, which means then you got to take the bearing out of there, which what I do is just another socket that just fits inside there, and just lightly tap it. Don't hit it very hard, and it'll slide out, because they're not really pressed in that tight. They're just super light interference, so they come out fairly easily. So then here's the new seal. Now on seals, this side here is always the side you put towards the oil that you're trying to retain. So this would go in like that once I get the old seal out. All right, so I got the new seal in the back of the hub. We got the bearing back in and got this pressed on here. Now, that is a bit of an interference fit, but a socket like this that fits over the threads with no problem can be used to tap it on there nice and easily. So that's the basic process that I use to do this. Now, this is a Nash Metropolitan, but this rear end and everything is exactly the same thing. It's in a Midget, Sprite, and the Morris Minor. Because actually this base chassis is based off the Morris Minor, which so is the Midget, which is why all this stuff is interchangeable. So that's just a real quick video on replacing a rear wheel seal. Now this also does apply to the early A and the B. It's just a special socket and everything's just a little bit bigger. So this is MG Rob. Later.